Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
We're going streaking!
Dave's Video Graveyard.
That guy in little clothes. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm not a smart man.
Shut up!
One tubby.
What's wrong with him?
My first thought would be alive.
Why so serious?
Wise man say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hey, Ma! The meatloaf! We want it now! The meatloaf!
Of all the radio shows in the world, this is definitely one of them. Dave's Video Graveyard on 100.5 WOW FM.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call it Prince.
It is 100.5 WOW FM, Dave's Video Graveyard for your Monday night. An absolute pleasure to be with you. And it's Oscars Day, which means really not that much to me. Paulie, how you doing?
It means a whole hell of a lot to me.
See, I'm the MTV Movie Awards guy, so, this is just a precursor.
There was no best kiss or best snogging scene. No, we had a hostless Oscars, which I think went really well until Mike Myers and Dana Carvey came out to rehash Wayne's World.
Oh, no.
For Bohemian Rhapsody, and
in character?
No.
Oh, thank goodness.
No, they should have been. Because it would have given an air to... Like, Dana Carvey's just standing there doing his Garth, and Mike Myers has, been stung by a bee. And looks nothing like... So it was just really sad. Everyone's thinking it's the greatest thing ever. It looked really sad.
Well, last time I saw Mike Myers, he was on one of the late night shows, but it was Halloween.
Yeah.
So he dressed up as Alec Guinness in A Bridge Too Far or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it was almost... the portliness was part of the costume, and I'm like,
nope.
I don't think he's that much of a method cosplayer.
I actually like the hostless Oscars. It actually went really well. There was a couple of really good presenters. Melissa McCarthy was great. John Mulaney was great. They started off the show with Queen with Adam Lambert
nice.
doing a couple of Queen songs, and they panned out to the crowd, and there's just so many white people dancing. It looked like a day on the green.
So you're
just
saying
slightly better dressed.
They started off with the equivalent of the Ashton Kutcher 2.5 Men, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. Keegan-Michael Key came down like Mary Poppins.
Oh, nice.
That was amazing.
And more people would have seen that than saw Mary Poppins Returns.
No doubt, yeah. Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper dry humped next to a piano.
I actually managed to hear some audio of that this afternoon, and Lady Gaga's a singer.
Yeah, and she also so Shallow won the award for best song, like everyone knew that it would.
But when it comes to music, Bradley Cooper is a competent film director.
So Lady Gaga got up and did the thing that I hate everyone doing at the Oscars when they say, it's not about winning, you just won.
I saw Lady Gaga's speech, and it was so... It doesn't matter if you're the people that lost, and then she pointed with a laser pointer at them one at a time. It's not about winning. Just because I did and you didn't.
And that would have been so comforting for Bradley Cooper, who didn't win.
Nice.
And I'm happy.
Good times.
You know me, I don't usually take delight in other people's misery, but Bradley Cooper's misery is like...
And the saltiness level went through the roof when Spike Lee finally got his long-deserved Oscar in his words.
And then, so he got his Oscar, and that was for Best Adapted Screenplay. Then the Green Book won Best Film, and then they interviewed Spike Lee afterwards. And Spike Lee tried to firstly leave when they announced it, and security had to go tell him to go back to his seat.
Wow.
And then he said, this is the worst it's the worst thing since Driving Miss Daisy, because he also lost the Oscar to that year. And he's like, he's not happy. If you go onto the internet, there's just so many Spike Lee memes.
Well, I did see him say that it's the 30-year anniversary of Do the Right Thing, and I'm like, that's not right. And then I looked into it, and that is right. That is a really old movie.
Don't check on Spike Lee. He knows everything. So it's pretty good. Apart from the fact that Green Book won the best, and Rami Malek won for his Freddie Mercury as Bohemian Rhapsody. Have you seen? We should introduce our guest.
I was going to say, it's been 5 minutes. We've reached a new pinnacle of rude. Tonight, it's all about the Guest Choice Special, and this week we have a very special guest in from Riot City Wrestling. It is Miki Fortune. How you doing, Miki?
Good. Very rude, though. Gosh,
yeah,
guys.
well, thanks for talking, and we'll see you next time.
Have you seen Bohemian Rhapsody?
No, I haven't. I'm a big Queen fan, which is different to my normal genres of music, but I haven't seen it yet because I'm a little scared, to be honest.
See, I work in a place that is selling the movie, and they've been playing the soundtrack for it ad nauseum. And I didn't think I could get sick of Queen music, but I don't like Queen anymore.
Well, you know
apparently
what?
There is a limit.
You will have some respite because the live version of Derpa Derp with Bradley Cooper and Gaga is sure to hit the shelves any day now.
See, when they win an award for a song, that's usually the end of that song, but I reckon that Shallow song is going to be with us like a very, very, very long time.
Speaking of things that you enjoy, did you see that they've announced a second Greatest Showman going into production with Hugh Jackman?
Will it be factual this time?
Well, I'm hoping so.
Will he sing a song about the fact that he kept an 80-year-old black woman as a slave for a few years?
Well, I'm hoping that they get to the Lobster Boy years. Because he's one of
the Fiji mermaid.
Yeah, he is genuinely one of the worst humans on earth, and his story would actually make it. If they could make happy, jaunty songs about some of the atrocities, it would be amazing. But really, the Oscars this year actually highlighted how lackluster last year was when it came to films.
Yeah, I mean, it was better. Like, I think. Everyone was saying, and I don't think it's on his shoulders to do it, but Rami Malek should have said something about Bryan Singer when he did his award.
Definitely.
It was probably a good... If you don't know about Bryan Singer, Google him, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, ruin your evening.
But look, the best bit of the whole thing, though, is at the end of it, they just wheeled out Julia Roberts, and it was like the substitute teacher saying, all right, it's time to go now. It was like... All right, thanks, Julia. You did nothing this year apart from even a couple of films. It was just really weird. It's like they just had Julia Roberts on hand to wrap everything up. It's like, all right, bye.
Now you said Rami Malek fell off the stage.
He did.
Wow,
and I can't believe that hasn't been all over your Facebook because you love a good person falling off something.
Laughing at someone else's misfortune is a fantastic coping mechanism, and I recommend it to anyone. Makes you feel good about yourself when you're not the one falling off stage. So bring it on.
I don't open a lot of the videos on your page because of reasons.
Yeah.
Because I don't. My history on my internet's not like yours. I did look at the one about the kid on the one that you posted.
Oh yeah, that flipped on the inflatable thing.
Oh my lord.
How many? But be honest, how many times did you watch that video?
10.
Yeah, that's it.
I usually watched it like 20 times. I just kept watching it. I couldn't help it.
I would feel like a worse person if you
5 of
watched
those
it
times
once.
was working out the physics of it.
And seriously, I enjoyed it for a good 40 seconds before I realised the girl catches him. And my wife's like, that's the only reason I was happy with it. Anyways. So tonight, it's other than the Oscars, it's all about your film selection. You've got a very varied selection. But before we get to that, why don't you let us know, how did you get into wrestling locally?
Oh, goodness. So, little known fact to a fair few people, I have actually been wrestling for nearly 10 years now. So I started back when I was 14, and it was just a weird played out situation. I was playing rugby league in a mixed team up until I was 13, and then 5 minutes before I was about to go on the field, me and the other girl on the team, they pulled off and said, you guys can't play anymore because you're over the age limit.
Oh, wow.
So I've always been playing sports, and one of my friends at the time was training to be a referee, and she's like, why don't you come down and see how it goes, and went down to this little shed in the middle of Salisbury.
Usually it's just red flags all over.
Yeah, my parents were so happy they were sending a 14-year-old off to a shed in Salisbury.
Don't drop me at the front, Mum and Dad. Just go around the block.
But no, got into it from there, and kind of been in and out due to injuries and other reasons and everything like that, but finally stepped back into the ring December last year after 2 years off, and it's all gung-ho from here for this year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we've got an amazing list of films to go through tonight. We might start off with a bit of music before then. This is DVG on 100.5 WOWFM. Don't forget you can join in the conversation. Simply jump on our Facebook, Dave's Video Graveyard at WOWFM. It is Dave's Video Graveyard as we get to the first choice on tonight's list. And boy, is it a doozy. In case you couldn't tell from the music, it was very subtle. It is from 1986. We're talking about Flight of the Navigator. Mickey, why did you pick this film?
Well, as you'll be able to see from the list, I've pretty much always been brought up on like your science fiction and everything like that. My father is a massive nerd. Read all your comic books, all your Star Trek and all things like that. This is probably this is a little bit earlier than when I was born. So I was born in 1995.
Stop telling people that. I don't think we have our right clearances to have you here. So.
Oh, it's all right, guys. I won't tell my parents.
I've got my DCSR. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
But so this is one of those ones that originally drew me to, your science fiction, aliens, all that kind of stuff. Anybody that knows me knows that I love to look into all this kind of stuff. And it was just also, I think, as a kid when I was watching it, it was just like the character development with Max and like, the navigator and everything like that. And it was just really funny.
I've recently forced my children to watch this because it was such a big part of my childhood being a massive Star. My trajectory into science fiction was I saw the original Star Wars trilogy.
Yep. Tried
to branch out into Star Trek. Wasn't for me. So then went like down this route, the likes of Batteries Not Included, The Explorers and Flight of the Navigator.
Yep.
Rewatching this with the kids, absolutely loved it. The moment I was pulled out was obviously when I was a kid, I did not know that Paul Rubens did the voice of the Navigator. So Pee Wee Herman, when he does the Pee Wee Herman laugh a few times in this film, instantly pulled out of this film. But honestly, it is fantastic if you don't think too much about it.
Yeah.
Like, I always think about the lost time and how his whole family basically, his brother thought that he had caused, basically him going missing.
Him to go missing and everything like that. And it's a good movie to just watch. You don't think about it. You don't think about, what actually happened in the 8 years that he was missing. You have to kind of get caught up in what was happening at that time and not too much.
Big quite well.
Definitely, yeah. Well, I remember seeing there was a teaser trailer for, what was that TV show? Was it The 4400 or The Returned?
Yeah.
It was one of those shows. And it had Red Foreman from the 70s show in it. But basically, it was his son coming to the front door as a 6-year-old that went missing as a 6-year-old. And he comes to the door and knocks, and the dad's now an old man. And I was like, have they done a gritty reboot of Flight of the Navigator?
With Red Foreman.
I would be all over it. It would be fantastic.
Paul Rubens could still do the voice too.
Speaking of Red Foreman, obviously he was in RoboCop. Did you see the new spokesman for a certain fried chicken establishment in the US?
No.
So Frank Welker, after saying, I don't think I'm going to do the Blomkamp reboot / sequel, RoboCop is now the spokesman for a certain fried chicken place.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, and it's him in full garb, but he's dressed as the Colonel Sanders and RoboCop at the same time. It's pretty upsetting, but at the same time, you don't have to say, why are they still coming for me? I still eat their chicken.
When they aired that in America and they saw KFC paired up with like their DVD collection, is like, oh god, I want some popcorn chicken.
No, you know that some executive is like, he's like, okay, I'm doing a survey. I'm in this man's house that's eating KFC. He's got, there's junk everywhere. Oh, there's a DVD out of its cover. It's RoboCop. And the executive's on the other end. Okay, we'll do it.
Yeah, Burger King's just like, get me Travolta and Nicolas Cage. We're doing a face-off.
No, Johnny Five from Short Circuit will be doing Burger King now. Okay.
Do you want diabetes?
So this is obviously one that you grew up on.
Yeah. So one that I found.
Given how young you are, though, that's no different than me growing up on Casablanca. You realise that because you're so young. It's just a super old movie.
Yeah. Well, I think like a few of my movies in here are like before my time.
Before your time.
Let's be
and
polite.
Just like that, me and Paul had the Matt Damon Saving Private Ryan scene as we both just aged instantly as you said that line. No, it's really good. Like I said, it falls in that category of... Did you ever see the film Spaced Invaders?
I think I did.
Don't.
I didn't commit it to memory though.
Don't. Or Killer Clowns from Space.
Yes,
all
I have seen that.
fantastic films around this kind of vibe. And The Explorers, that's the River Phoenix one, Paul, is that right?
Yeah, and I think this always reminds me of Batteries Not Included.
Yep.
I used to rent this and The Boy Who Could Fly quite a lot too, even though that's not literally in the same thing. But the next one you've chosen is probably my favourite Disney film.
Oh, big call. And before we get to it, here's a little bit of the trailer. The Lion King. From 1998, you've chosen the G-rated film Mulan.
Yes.
Tell us all about it.
Mulan is easily my favorite Disney movie, even to present. Like, there's others that have come close to it, say like Tangled I found quite good. I enjoyed, but Mulan is always something I always will go back to.
Female positive cartoons.
Yeah,
Not on this show.
Sorry, mate, I'm a former pro wrestler. I'll just have to beat you up.
Yeah, true that. That's why I didn't teach your dad when you were telling me all those stuff about him.
Yeah, great times. But yeah, it's something I always go back to. Like, I'm pretty sure I just sit there and watch it sometimes if I'm like, yeah, I just want a happy-go-lucky movie after you get past, the Huns and the murder and all that kind of stuff.
I found out about this film on the side of a fun bucket from a certain chicken establishment because that's the cool kid I was. Paul, you said this was your absolute favourite Disney film.
I think it's just more like it's a good story and it's well told, and some of the animation in it was very non-Disney. Like the all the Huns have got that sort of shadowy type sort of thing going on to it. Like the first time you see the big bad in this is amazing. So I just really like it. It's one of those I didn't sort of impress too much on my kids but I really wanted them to like it. So I was like, I didn't sort of show it to them too early. I was like, and then they like it now too.
You're like, hey kids, watch this Eddie Murphy thing. Did you like it? Here's this other Eddie Murphy thing.
And I think I said it off air too. Like, it's the only sort of live action that because they're remaking it as live action that I'm really looking forward to. It doesn't have a blue Will Smith in it, which is
why? We were having such a nice evening, and you had to bring it down.
I am mentioning
it all.
every single week until it comes out.
Oh, goodness.
So obviously, you saw this for the first time as a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Have you revisited it every year pretty much since
Pretty
then?
much, maybe twice a year, 3.
Yeah.
It's something that I always like. If I just want to put something on and like obviously you have the songs come on and me and my husband will just burst out singing and stuff like that. It's not very often that I'll get my husband to sing along to stuff that's not his normal genre of music or Disney at all. But say,
No, you can't go back. You've totally outed him here on DVD.
Oh, he's got some other Disney favourite songs, but I won't be too mean to him right now.
I did hear that they made an announcement this week that there would be a Frozen 2, so he will be very ecstatic, I'm sure.
Nah. Probably will be some of the only people that didn't enjoy Frozen.
That trailer was confusing for the second one. Like, I watched it, and
it had Mads Mikkelsen in it.
It's very dark. And I was just like, okay, this is good. We should mention that there was a tad of whitewashing on this that they're going to sort of sort of make good on with the live action. But then again, it's got Harvey Fierstein in it, and I love Harvey Fierstein.
Do it. Go on, say David in that voice. You know you want to.
David. He's in a lot of you don't realise how many movies he's in that I love.
Recently rewatched. I'm having mental
He's in The Simpsons. He's Carl.
Yeah. No way.
He's the guy that at home it's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, because I always Mrs. Doubtfire recently revisited, and he's the special effects wizard. And it's like, oh my god, he's everywhere. The birdcage, I'm pretty sure was in.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
But obviously yelling David 4 million times, which is quite often if I'm in trouble. Same tone and everything. Because she's red raw from yelling at me.
Yeah.
We might get back into the music as we continue with you. Don't forget you can join in the conversation simply by jumping on Facebook, Dave's Video Graveyard at WOWFM, and let us know what you think. And if you can't find Dave's Video Graveyard, just search my name, which is
David.
This is DVD Paul's stuck in a loop, and that's all he's going to say tonight.
David.
It is Dave's Video Graveyard. We've changed format and we're just going to play like battleground sounds for a whole 2 hours. It's quite confronting. We are talking about the film from 2008, changing the game of found footage films, much like the Blair Witch Project did many years before, but bringing it to a more contemporary age. We are talking about Cloverfield. Why did you pick this film, Miki Fortune?
So I'm a big fan of
Don't you dare say science fiction and just do the same spiel again.
No.
You gotta
Like,
give us
also,
some...
okay, I enjoy like your horror movies and like your monster movies and all that kind of stuff as well. So I have a pretty wide genre choice that I like. But this one's probably one of the only, I'm going to say, I think it's camcorder kind of film footage that I like. I liked also that, like, you still had to kind of envision for larger portions of it what the creature actually looked like until you got to the scenes where they're crossing the bridge. It's not even a bridge, it's just buildings that have collapsed and you see the footage from it further away. But I think it was really capturing film for me because it's very confronting at the same time. Like, you've got the parts where the creature's walking across and all the little ones are falling from it and they're like trying to eat everybody.
The subway scene. I rewatched it on YouTube this afternoon. Still terrifying.
Yep.
I actually went and saw this at the cinema, and it was much like with the Blair Witch with the found footage, where there was more reports in Australia. Like, I remember seeing Richard Wilkins on one of the channels being like, I had to leave the cinema because I had such a headache and it was just too much with all the movement and stuff.
Probably should have had Botox before.
Yeah. And just he really baby boomer responded to the found footage. But I went and saw it, and the thing that blew me away was obviously with like monster movies like Jaws.
Yep.
The shark broke down 90% of the time.
Yep.
So that became not even a conscious choice. They were forced to not show the shark much, and it was really done perfectly. Cloverfield was basically cut, copy, paste that idea, but limited by what they could do with the special effects and the budget.
Mm-hmm.
But it actually made up for, like, you know, what it presented, because you get this King Kong scale, like, monster movie.
Yep.
But without having to do all the groundwork of having the monster constantly on screen or having everyone interact with it. It was a really refreshing thing, and unfortunately, given the year that it is, 2019, if we look at our Kevin Spacey meter of this film, Paul, this is a TJ Miller film.
Yeah, it is.
We like to point out the terrible people in movies that weren't terrible at the time. But
he probably was terrible at the time. I love this movie, and I remember like seeing it with people who hated it for the motion, like the motion sickness and all that stuff. I watched this film over and over again. Loved the follow-up to it. Didn't love the follow-up to that, the Cloverfield Paradox. Yep. But I'm a big monster movie fan, and this just ticked all the right boxes. And I liked how it didn't sort of show its hand like that scene. Remember when we first saw the trailer and the Statue of Liberty's heads rolling down the street? My God.
Yeah.
I actually remember, I can't remember the name of the guy, but he used to host on Showtime on Foxtel.
Yeah.
He used to do the movie reviews and show the new movies. Richard something. He was going on about the size of the Statue of Liberty's head being not in scale with the thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, you watched a monster movie that basically had like the arachnids from Starship Troopers running around the subway, and your issue was the size of Statue of Liberty's head.
Yeah, that's why. Good old critics. It gave us two guys too that went on to do amazing things. Drew Goddard gave us the Daredevil TV series, and also Martian and World War Z, which I think is really good and is very underrated. And Cabin in the Woods. And
it's one of the only books I've read since high school.
Matt Reeves, who directed it, is doing a little known project called The Batman, coming out in 2021. And also, before this, his best movie was The Pallbearer with David Schwimmer in it.
There's your first warning of this evening, Paul. You bring up David Schwimmer 2 more times, you're out of here. And was it not part of the categorized of Bad Robot being...
This is JJ. This is because they also went on... but both those guys went on to do a lot of stuff with Lost.
I remember seeing this at the cinemas and being absolutely almost overwhelmed with, much like a baby boomer would have been, with the lens flares, which was JJ's style.
Leave JJ alone.
Fast forward to 2019, I don't think I could tell you the last lens flare I've noticed. And it's like every music video, everything has to have a lens
Everything
flare.
has a lens flare nowadays, even just general life.
Thank you, JJ.
It's the end of this where they try to take off with the helicopter and it crashes and the monster picks up the helicopter.
So,
is that right?
no, kind of. So at the end of this one,
doing the archway at the park, yeah.
Yeah. So it. They think that they've bombed it and all that kind of stuff, and then it just reaches out and grabs it and throws it, right. And then it bites the guy that's holding the camera in half, and you've got that scene where he's inside its mouth, and you're like, oh my god, it's terrifying. And then just this body drops, and then
I remember that
man-hand gets bombed.
The part that seeing it at the cinemas that really struck like a sense of dread is when the military turned hostile, trying to cover it up. Really so unsettling because you get that false the cavalry have arrived, they're safe now.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, they're going to kill you as well.
Yep, they're just going to kill everybody.
Awesome. What would you give this film out of 19?
19.
Arbitrary rating.
All right, we might go to the next pick here on your list. This is DVG. It is Dave's Video Graveyard. Joining us this evening is Miki Fortune, taking us through her 10 favourite films of all time, and we've settled in the year of 1996. Do you remember this one well? Did you see this at the cinemas?
No.
Tell us what you've picked.
So Star Trek First Contact is definitely my favourite of all of the Star Trek films and everything along those lines. So the Borg are easily my favourite bad guys in the franchise. Probably the thing that drew me to the most to this one is you've got the scenes where Picard is pretty much losing control. So previously, before this in the series, he's actually been taken by the Borg and made part Borg and everything, and he's kind of revisiting all those things when he's dreaming, and he's just he sees Borgs and he just brutally murders them, which is so different from his character previously before that. But it's also they're on Earth years and years before they're supposed to do the first space launch, and the Borg are trying to destroy that so it never happens. Earthlings never go out into space. And then you've got the other side of it as well, where the Borg Queen has taken Data, who's a robot, and she's giving him human skin so he can actually feel properly and emotions. And at the end of it, it's pretty much a scene where it's Data's picking between Picard or her because she's giving him what he wants at that point, which is to be human. And ultimately he picks Picard. But the end scene for her being murdered was amazing because they just rip her skull out of her body and just throw it to the floor, and her body just gets eaten by I don't know what they are, just flesh-eating vapor or something.
The Star Wars kid in me will just not let. This sounds amazing, but I'm not going to believe it.
No, not until you watch it. You're going to have to watch it.
It does. I was going to say, of all the trailers I've seen of any of the Star Trek films, this looked fantastic.
No, it's one I love. I'm probably more leaning towards this one because I very much so like Patrick Stewart as an actor, more so than William Shatner. I'm not a big William Shatner fan, so all of his films and even his days with
the Enterprise. He's a big William Shatner fan for both of you. Paulie, do your thing,
sir.
Do your thing. Science fiction into this conversation. Back me up.
I like Picard. He's my favorite captain as well. So they just these last ones like this in Generations, a lot of stuff just plays out a bit better than a lot of them had. A lot of the old ones could trim the fat a bit, sort of thing. So
is that another swing at Shatner?
Shatner's fine. I'm not gonna body shame Shatner. I haven't got back into the series. I should watch it more. It's on my ever-growing list of things to watch. I've heard Discovery's quite good. The two new series that are coming out. I also have to give shout-outs to the Orville because I've been watching that non-stop lately. Have you watched the Orville yet?
No.
The Orville is made by the guy who made Family Guy, and everyone thought it was just going to be a comedy, but it's actually a decent sci-fi as well. So it's probably more Star Trek than some of the Star Trek that's out at the moment. Because he wanted the new Star Trek contract, and Fox said no. He's like, I'll just make my own then, and he actually made a really good sci-fi series.
Yeah,
the best Star Trek thing I'd ever seen is not even Star Trek. It was the Black Mirror episode of the.
That's amazing, that one.
The simulator of the Starship Captain. Amazing. It is life-changingly good.
Oh wow.
Maybe not that good, but it's pretty good.
Patrick Stewart in this one definitely. If you want Picard, you got him.
Yeah.
so much.
In your exploration of all things science fiction, did you go down the route which will make you and Paul lifelong friends? Did you enjoy the X-Files?
I did.
That's fine.
I really did.
Because she's a normal human being.
No, I really, really did enjoy the X-Files. It's probably something that I watched in and out, and it probably helped where I am with a lot of my films and stuff nowadays.
Yeah.
I watched it for, I think, 3 seasons, and I felt like the coolest kid at school because a lot of my friends were scared of it. The episode home aired, and I stopped watching X-Files after that episode because it scared me. That and the dude on the trolley.
Yeah.
They're the 2 scariest episodes.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of my friends. I remember when I was back in the VHS days of Movieland when I was working. Star Trek videos were like the highest renters. Like, we used to get the episodes, and it'd be like 3 episodes per tape.
Yeah.
And they'd just be constantly out.
It's probably my dad.
The Star Trek fans did have a type.
Were the Star Trek fans...
Pants sort of up to about here.
Were the WWF Home Coliseum releases the same crowd?
We had them on either sides of the show. So one side was a Star Trek thing, and one side was like the WWF wrestling. I'm like...
Was the topper at the top of the shelf just said stink?
It's just pine trees. It was just those little pine trees above it. So it looked like that thing. You know in Seven when he goes into that room. That was that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they're like, "Well, do you have the latest episode of Star Trek?" Yeah, it's just over in the forest. What do you mean the forest? We'll see.
You'll
all
see.
those trees.
You'll see.
Nice.
Feel free to rub yourself.
Taking shots at stinky science fiction fans from the early 90s. Come at us slowly. We'll get back into the music. This is DVG. You know a movie's great when the only trailer that exists is for free-to-air television. Surprisingly, for the first time ever chosen as someone's top 10 favourite films, not judging, it is from 1985, Baby, The Secret of the Lost Legend. Tell us all about it.
So I love dinosaurs. This was probably the first creature, I guess, film that I'd ever seen. And I loved it because it was a cute little baby dinosaur. I'm very young at this point when I actually did watch it.
You were -10 at this point.
When I eventually did watch, I absolutely loved it, and I would watch it over and over and over again. I think, obviously, looking back on it, there's parts I probably only like the dinosaur parts, not the rest of the acting or anything.
Has Play-Doh ever looked so good?
Yeah. But obviously, you've got the sad scenes as well, where they're killing the parents and all that, and eventually it's yay because they saved the baby and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, it's just one of those ones that's always stuck with me because it was the first of that kind of genre movie that I've ever watched, and I really did enjoy it, and now I have a lifelong love of dinosaurs that I see.
Wow. The generations of people that have said I have a lifelong love of dinosaurs because of Jurassic Park, you've just slapped every one of them in the face. A film that was made, doesn't even say the budget, but it made $14.9 million at the box office. I reckon for 1985 it looked pretty spectacular. What do you think? Bearing in mind that John Carpenter's The Thing came out in 1982. Paul, tell us how much you love dinosaurs about this.
Yeah. Look, I probably haven't seen it since I was very young. I remember I used the front cover of it, and it's just this blank-looking expression from a dinosaur staring up at me. And I was just like, "No, I will not rent you."
It actually looks like one of the snails in Neverending Story, one of the sequels. I remember that original cover.
It's always good when you base a film around about a dinosaur that wasn't actually... Is that Brontosaurus that never actually is? It's not actually a dinosaur anymore.
This is... I'm positive this film had to enter royalty-free, public domain, because it was on almost weekly on Channel 7. It didn't matter what was on. If there was a fill-in, even if it was only 20 minutes. Yeah. It was back in the days where there was no programming quality, where it was just I would just show 15 minutes of a movie and then cut to the next sporting event. Where it'd go to an ad and suddenly the cricket was on. This was always the film for some reason. I haven't revisited it since back then, but watching the trailer today, I wasn't very keen. But I promise you, given some good clicking, you will find it on YouTube for sure.
Yeah, I've tried, but it's normally like in another language or something, and I'm like, I'm okay reading subtitles, but not for this.
I need the real experience. Yeah. I need the Dolby surround sound that this was
You
made.
give me like a couple of things to play to, I could probably do it for you.
Just live action.
Just paint your hand with a Posca pen.
Get a green sex toy for him.
Each to its own, Paul.
What? You don't have them?
Not shaped like a Diplodocus.
Oh, now I'm weird.
Okay, now speaking of weird, Paul, segues to the next film.
One of the most delightful films that you'll ever watch is Kung Fu Hustle. This one just constantly makes... For a while there, I used to watch this just to sort of be happy. This and Shaolin Soccer. But this is awesome. I remember when it came out, you just didn't see fight scenes like this. Why did you pick this movie?
Look, it was between this and Shaolin Soccer, between the two of them. This ultimately because it had more of like the kung fu style and everything like that. You know, you've got the axe gang and everything, and at the opening scene where, you know, you've got the impossible, this guy like throws an axe and it cuts off this guy's leg, and like he just like dies there. But then like the whole thing where you've got, you know, Helen of Troy and you've got the Toad and everything like that as well.
It's quite out there as a movie.
Yeah.
But it came right at the right time because this is just post Kill Bill.
Yep.
So all the Eastern Eye and Japanese and lots of the kung fu films are coming into popularity again, and this really was like the showcase film. I remember a lot of people wanting it and stuff. So yeah, have you ever seen this?
Yeah, absolutely love it, and it blew me away because 2004 CGI were only typically reserved for the big, like massive budget movies. So for this to slip under the radar, I remember seeing. I reckon I saw like. It was either Madman or one of the distribution companies brought out so many movies like this at once. So I remember in a very short amount of time, because it was kind of a bit of a blank year where there wasn't that much out, but it was like Kung Fu Hustle, Ong Bak, about like 10 or so martial arts films, all distributed by Madman, came out around the same time. And this one, because you cannot... I know obviously the poster that's shown here is not the one I saw it with, but he's holding the axe and the lollipop. You didn't get any idea of vibe because quite often, like I always think back, there's a film I was told by so many people that I would love called Ichi the Killer that was distributed by Madman. Yeah. It's basically a super ultra violent, like gory, like think the most horror movie gore, but with this killer guy that has blades on his boots and stuff.
Takashi Miike.
Yeah. Absolutely upsettingly violent. I watched it and everyone's like, you were going to love it. Didn't realise the version I had been dubbed by a company in New Zealand, and I guess that no one gave him direction and just said, oh, go have fun. And so like the killer actually spoke in like a New Zealand accent, but they'd put on a falsetto, so every time the killer would talk, he'd be like, oh yeah, what's going on, yeah?
Goodness.
And it was like, and it made it the most jarring, terrible film I'd ever seen. And it was like, how good is it? It's so gritty and realistic. I'm like, no.
What did you watch? Like, it's a different film. Like,
because, you know, one of the henchmen would get killed and go, oh, no. And it's like, what is happening in this film?
Because I watched this in like subbed and dubbed, both of them as well. Like sometimes I'm just like, no, I can't be bothered reading. I just want to listen to it. And I'm pretty sure like Stephen Chow and everything do the English version as well.
They do.
That's fine.
Yeah, so it's not too bad because it doesn't sound like, oh, it's just an American guy doing.
Because I remember this one and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was the first time we had both versions, like the dubbed and the subtitled, like in the store. And yeah, people like getting the dubbed one. And they're like, oh, it's not as good. I'm like, no, it's not.
and not many people realise this, but me and Paul have a lot of pull when it comes to making of movies. When you sent your list a few weeks ago, we sent it through to a few of the right people. And so they came out and Stephen Chow announced that Kung Fu Hustle 2 has been confirmed. It's in development, and that was confirmed by Stephen after 15 years of everyone saying it will or it won't. It's happening, and it's all thanks to DVD.
After Ross and Racheling.
Will they, won't they? That's, you know what? That counts as two. You've now referenced David Schwimmer twice on the show. And if you can make the third one, you referencing him, but in Harvey Fierstein voice, then I might let it go. We're going to get back into the music. Don't forget, you can let us know how we're going. Jump on Dave's Video Graveyard. Before then, you can jump on both Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram and check out Miki Fortune's wrestling escapades. Where's the best place to do that?
So I've got Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter now as well. I'm trying out the Twitter world. It's very confusing, but
we don't get it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't get it either. But just if you type in Miki Fortune or the Huntress Miki Fortune, I'm all over everything.
Awesome. This is DVG. It is the feel-good hit of the summer here on DVG from 2007. It is the 4th in the franchise, but first in the storyline. We are talking about Hannibal Rising. Why did you pick this film?
So I've read all of the Hannibal books multiple times. This one...
Fifth? Yeah, fifth.
Yeah. It's one of those ones where obviously it's gone back to the beginning, gone back to his roots and everything, and explains the rest of what happened. For me, this one was obviously quite confronting, being during World War II. It goes into the reason is cannibalism and everything, and the Nazis that pretty much stole their house after his and his sister's parents were killed, and then ate his sister because she had pneumonia and fed her to him as well. And then it's going along him finding them all and killing them, whilst also bringing in his Asian auntie somehow, and the love storyline between that, which was quite confusing. But it's one of those ones that's always still intrigued me. I think it's quite dark as well. But yeah, it was still quite close to the book, which is something that always ticks a lot of boxes for me, if it doesn't deviate too much. But yeah, it was a good film for me.
Safe to say, looking at your list, no spoilers for coming up, but you're a bit of a fan when it comes to Hannibal Lecter?
Just a little bit of a fan.
Did you enjoy Manhunter? Have you seen Manhunter?
No, I haven't.
Well, there you go. It's the chief out of Super Troopers playing Hannibal Lecter.
Okay.
Being pursued by the dad from Fear.
Well, the guy from CSI.
Yeah, yeah.
Grissom from CSI. This Hannibal Rising, for me, I never read the book. I've only read the other, Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs and stuff like that. It's a very confronting film, but at the same time, I just never felt it was necessary. I liked the sort of air of mystery around Hannibal Lecter. I watched it.
You didn't want to see that he didn't like sand because it gets in everywhere?
I don't know. I think it was. It could have been in better hands. I wish they had waited and for it to have been. It was just sort of rushed out because everyone this is mid 2000s prequel fever after the Star Wars ones had hit. So that a lot of people were going back to the well and going, all right, let's put a prequel in. And the whole sort of subplot with him and his auntie was kind of just weird. The end scenes are awesome. Rhys Ifans is in it, and that's another reason why I can't watch this movie because I can't stand Rhys Ifans. But yeah, look. Do you like the TV show Hannibal?
I haven't seen it.
You should check it out. It's
yeah, I've heard it's really good.
Dana Scully's in it.
I'm one of those people obviously this is one that I enjoy, but I've loved Anthony Hopkins' work in Hannibal and everything like that. It was his first role that I ever watched of his that introduced me to it and everything. And I'm kind of scared to watch anybody else portray him.
One thing I will say though, obviously it became the iconic and no one else can really be seen at that level. What I believe it's Brian Cox in Manhunter, straight up is what Anthony Hopkins is doing. It's kind of Red Dragon. It's half Red Dragon, half Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of like on an acid trip.
Yeah, almost with a made-for-TV vibe to it. But I've got to say, acting-wise and character-wise, the character was there before Anthony, but obviously he made it his own.
Yeah.
Now, not because the other two that you picked was Hannibal and Silence of the Lambs, but you didn't pick Red Dragon. Why is that? Because Philip Seymour Hoffman being burned alive and rolled down the street in a wheelchair is amazing.
Oh, look, it was a really good film.
I use Liquid Nails weekly, and I still cannot touch it without thinking of Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
Do you see?
I think for that one, it just didn't strike me as much. I don't know why. And it may have been that, Hannibal wasn't in it for a large portion. Like, that's just when he was in jail. So I'm pretty sure the sequence goes it goes Hannibal Rising, Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs, then Hannibal.
Yeah.
So Red Dragon, because at the end of Red Dragon is when they say, there's a Agent Clarice Starling here to see you, and then it's leading into Silence of the Lambs from there.
Yep.
I think it was purely because Hannibal wasn't really in it for a large portion. Like, the portions that he was, being in the jail and just walking around and then getting close to the detective and, like, still little aspects, but it just didn't draw me as much. And I don't know why, it just didn't.
See, I love Red Dragon, and I think it's because at the start you get to see him at the end of his prime before he gets, he's got his little ponytail at the back. And he's having the dinner party where he feeds them the I think it's the flautist.
Yep.
From the ensemble. And there's a scene where he's watching the orchestra and... No, it's a violinist.
It's the discomfort of the violinist.
And he does a bum note and, like, he just winces like that and you're like, oh, he's going to eat him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know. I've always liked Red Dragon a lot. And I don't like Edward Norton at all. Yeah, and I like him in that movie.
He did a good job as the bad guy in that, I think.
So I think... But yeah, moving on to Silence of the Lambs. Now, is this your favourite out of all of them, or...?
I'm torn between Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal.
Okay.
I don't know if it's just... because the scenes for me in Silence of the Lambs, it was... I'm going to say a lot more confronting.
Yeah.
So, when you read it to the book, and obviously you've got Buffalo Bill and everything like that, you get his backstory. But I think it was... And you've got the iconic parts, like it puts the moisture on, like all that kind of stuff. Whereas Hannibal doesn't have that kind of iconic status, I don't think. There's more things from Silence of the Lambs. If you say Hannibal, everyone will go to scenes from Silence of the Lambs. And I don't know if it's just for its time. It was such a striking film. Like, people weren't sure what to take from it.
They hadn't seen a procedural police film that was that confronting. So, like, there's some stuff in there.
It was all the high concept, or like even the Tom Clancy route of like conspiracies and stuff when it come to like the deep looks in the early 90s of like the FBI and the workings of catching killers and stuff.
And they've never seen Anthony Hopkins do anything like this unsettling. Like, he doesn't blink in that film. No. Like, he does not blink. Like, it's amazing.
When it comes to serial killer films, this easily number one.
Yeah, read the book. We've talked about it before too. The bit where she walks into the room and it's just full of men, and I think they even shot it from like a lower thing, and she's kind of looking up at all of them, and then she tells them all to leave the room. One of my favorite parts of that movie. It has nothing to do with like any gore or anything like that, but I love the bit where she basically enters the room full of like all these men, and she's like, "All right, get out."
Yeah, because it's the scene where they find the third body, and they're like, you guys have done what you can for her. Now it's for us to take over, and they're like, okay, and. Yeah.
But it's just like, she's walked in and is like, takes control of it. It's like, yeah, it's awesome.
I, at one Melbourne trip under the influence, was there for a friend's tattoo expo, and I actually had drawn up, but luckily I had too much fun to show up the next morning. But it was actually a Buffalo Bill holding over its shirt, and it just said, "I'd F me" down the bottom. That is drawn up. It was going to be the best tattoo ever. A Buffalo Bill tattoo. Never got around to it, but I just revisited in my mind.
Put it on your chest.
I think I want it again.
You'd put it on your chest, and then you'd
put on
Goodbye Horses.
Oh man, this film is... One of the times I watched this, I'd forgotten it, and I was watching it with a girlfriend at the time, and I just couldn't remember anything about it.
Yeah.
But I was trying to act heaps cool about it. When she opens the door with the jack to get in under and finds like all Hannibal's stuff.
Oh, in the storage.
In the storage
unit, yeah.
I couldn't remember that nothing happened in that scene.
Oh, in the car.
And so the whole time I'm like, oh, no. And then nothing happened. I'm like, yeah, I'm cool.
The only part was finding the head in the jar.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I was expecting
you're waiting for someone to jump out, or
that bit where he's finding the card when she confronts Buffalo Bill at the end, and just lets all the cards fall out of his hand, and then just like runs like that. He's going for the gun.
Yeah,
you can see the gun, but she can't see the gun. It's just
whatever that actor's name was. He did such a good job in it. Like, it was just creepy because it's not your normal looking bad guy, I guess I'm going to say. Like, he was pretty, like, chill and, like, obviously you go behind the scenes and he's a creep, but
See, I revisited briefly just some of the trailers and stuff for. We'll do Hannibal now.
Can I just say that? Bit of a trivia. So Chris on Family Guy.
Yeah.
That's a takeoff of the voice of Buffalo Bill.
That
so he's like, oh, I'm gonna try this, and it's like, yeah, that's basically where he got the voice from.
I was watching the trailer today. Do you remember in Hannibal? Does Clarice is going through like who Hannibal is, and she's like saying he's killed like 40 people, 3 police while in custody, including eating one's face.
Yep.
Does that mean he never got Chilton? You know the way the first ends with he's going to get Chilton.
Yeah.
Is Chilton in
It's heavily implied. No, he's not in.
It's implied, but the problem is Chilton kind of went off the border, so nobody knows.
Right.
Like the ending scene of Silence of the Lambs is
I'm having a friend for
dinner. It's implied, and it's one of those things. She's like, these are just the people we've found. We don't know about the rest.
Yep.
But yeah, it's so going to Hannibal now.
Cordell.
I'm still I'm really torn between which one I like the more. I'm probably going to say Silence of the Lambs.
Yep. Did you see Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
There is a character that's like a big game hunter that's wants teeth from every one of the dinosaurs on the island. And he's really weird. And I was watching and I'm like, I do not know who that actor is. But then this certain voice tone come through. This.
Yeah.
And it's the dude that plays...
It's Buffalo Bill.
It's Buffalo Bill.
Oh, really?
He's obviously aged like 30 years.
He's in Heat too. He's amazing.
Yeah, I know,
in Heat,
but in that I recognised instantly who it was. But in Fallen Kingdom, I had no idea who it was until he like had phlegm in his throat, and it made that Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, check that out just because the whole movie is just transfixed on one guy going like, he's going to break his arm and try to get one of the dinosaurs to lift a couch into a van.
Was she a big old fat dinosaur? So Hannibal, I remember when it first came out, it was a big censorship thing, especially in Adelaide, because Adelaide was the only city, I'm pretty sure, that was going to give it an R18. Everywhere else was going to give it MA, and it was like this big sticking point. And
weirdly enough, of everything to do, I remember everything to do with the film, it was actually the shootout with the baby in the thing that was the issue, not the brain.
Not the brain eating, no. Love the first portion of this movie in Italy. I think it's probably, of even thriller horror cinema, this is one of my favorite things because everything looks amazing. It's like he's down to detail. He's obviously made himself at home there. No one knows who he is. He's sending little clues to Clarice, like the hand wash on the letter that he sends and lots of stuff. It's just really intricately done. I feel like it runs to the end. That's my only thing about this thing is that once he comes back to America, it's just this race to when it's like 30 minutes of like, and we're done.
And once you forgive Julianne Moore's accent in this film, because it is unforgivable.
It's terrible.
But you know what makes up for it is Gary Oldman just being so stupidly Gary Oldman in this movie and like going full into like, because he basically plays a guy who's been his face cut up by Hannibal.
Yeah.
And has angel dust and fed his own face.
Sent people out to capture him so he can feed him to pigs. And it's just amazing. Yeah, he plays Mason Verger. He's got Cordell, his like little doctor life mate.
Yep,
love it. He's got all his money at his disposal. It's great. I really like. I haven't watched it for a while, but I really want to go back. Barney comes back from Silence of the Lambs.
Yes,
Barney's awesome. He's got all the tapes that he gives to Clarice. Yeah,
the tapes, and he had the mask and everything that he sold.
Yeah, he calls her like They talk about starlings and lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think it was good because it kind of, so the reason that he started making First Contact is because they took him off the 10 most wanted list.
Yes.
And that's where he starts. He's like, oh, I'm not important anymore kind of thing. And they still don't know where he is until, obviously it's Hannibal. He's high class to a regard and everything like that. So he's sending her things made out of whale bone that you can only get in certain parts of Italy and all this kind of stuff. So they're eventually going to find him.
His ego gets the best of him, which they say happens with a lot of serial killers. He wants to be relevant, and so he starts giving clues and making them more and more blatant. But yeah, this film, I always had issue with the recasting of Clarice.
Yep.
And that's probably the only thing I'd hold against it. And Julianne Moore is an absolute stellar actress, but it hinders this film, I think. I'll love anything Ray Liotta plays a bad guy in, so this is great.
Oh, he's so slimely Liotta in this movie too. Ugh.
It's so good.
Love Inspector Patsy though. He's great, and like that bit where he basically says like, "I've been giving serious thought to eating your wife," is just amazing. Yeah, great movie, good choice.
Nice. We're going to get back into the music now here on DVG. Don't forget you can join the conversation or let us know how we're going. Jump on our socials or jump on Miki Fortune's socials and, I don't know, tell her how creeped out you are by her serial killer obsession. This is DVG. It is 100.5 WOWFM, always on it, always knowing when the songs are going to finish. That's what we do here. We are joined by Miki Fortune. Now, usually when we have a wrestler on, I powerbomb them through a table, but I'm going to let you go this evening, I think.
Maybe.
Bit of favouritism.
I'll just have to turn it the other way.
You're too into serial killers. It's just worrying that like it wouldn't end with this evening.
It's alright, I haven't murdered
I'd
anybody
powerbomb you and surely you'd end up with your arm in a sling and next week we'd be leaving and you'd be like, could you help me get this couch into my van? And we all know how that ends. I'll be eating a moth. Okay, speaking of family-friendly fun films, we are talking about your next selection on your 10 favourite films. An R-rated film from 2012. It is a sequel called The Collection. Why did you choose this film?
So the first one is called The Collector. That one's based like just in one house and everything. The Collection is a bit more messed up, I guess I'm going to say. So you go to what I will call his house of horrors. So he's got multiple people there, just sculptures that he's made out of other people's bones and flesh and everything like that. And it's just a lot more intense.
What's Bone Collector? Is that the one with Angelina Jolie? That's not part of this?
Denzel Washington. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Is that... That's
not part of this at all. But it's just... I don't know, it just drew me to it. So, like, obviously it leads on from the first one. So his whole thing is that everywhere he goes, like every household, he steals one person. And then he puts them in a box and takes it to the next location. And that's just how the whole thing works. So the guy from the first one that's taken is in the second one and then used to take the girl. It's kind of got, like, your action-y feel in it as well because the girl that they've taken is, the daughter of a very wealthy person. They've got this whole, like, gun-ho crew that goes in and tries to, kill this guy, and he just like messes him up with all these traps and everything that he's got. And I don't know, it was just, it's just a very messed up movie that I enjoy.
I have appreciation for when the killer of a franchise is played by a stunt actor that's done nothing where they've actually acted. It's all stunts. That's pretty impressive.
I do like it as well because you don't know, even at the end, you don't ever see his face. And the only times you see him is when he's got this mask on, and it's a creepy mask. And they've got his eyes blacked out and everything. He doesn't talk at all. He just has like heavy breathing, and it's even creepier. But this one I kind of picked because it's more intense than the first one, and I think they play into the whole serial killer thing more. Like, you've got the scene that you were talking about before in the nightclub right at the beginning where it's just all these people. They've got the whole city on lockdown because they know there's this serial killer out there, and these stupid kids go to a nightclub and then there's
the
just
film opens with him killing 50 people. Yeah. That's the impetus of the film.
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm, I haven't murdered any puppies or anything yet, so don't get too worried.
It's the use of the word "yet" that's probably the most concerning.
No, I love my dogs. So.
So you're a big horror fan sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely. So I've always enjoyed my mother, she always read up on like all the Jack the Ripper, everything along those lines, so Ted
Bundy is a taste of
the town. I was going to say, yeah.
So much Bundy.
Who's your favourite serial killer?
Oh, God.
I'm a very big fan of, not fan, but Richard Kuklinski, the Iceman.
Yep.
So when I was younger, I watched like the Confessions of the Iceman, read all the books and everything like that.
There's a terrible movie with Paul's favourite actor actually as well. Did Michael you see that one?
No.
Yeah. Michael Shannon. Don't bother.
No. Okay.
bother.
Yeah.
It's got Michael Shannon in it, and he's amazing.
But yeah, Richard Klinsky's probably the one that sticks with me the most. And he's probably the first one that I ever did a lot of research on.
Who's your favourite serial killer?
Well, not so much the serial killer. I like a bit of flair and a bit over the top. So Ed Kemper would probably be up there, but I'm more so... Well, he's well-rounded. He does everything terrible.
He's got style, he's got flair.
I have a weird... My wife is quite concerned. I'm a little bit obsessed with Jim Jones's ability to manipulate people.
You are very, very obsessed.
I can't convince people to listen to this show. How did he do what he did? Ring it now. Call us now.
Kool-Aid, dude.
It's like Charles Manson as well, though.
Oh, sorry. I think that's the second time you've actually...
Yeah, I'm starting to worry myself. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Good times.
There's so many, like Jack the Ripper, Ted Bundy, all that kind of stuff.
The positive thing about this week is you've put both Paul and I on a watch list just from looking up these films in this order. Our names are both on a list.
It's all right. You're on the same watch list I'm on.
Did you watch the recent Halloween?
Yes.
Did you like it?
It was alright.
Get out.
Yeah.
She may be able to redeem herself, Paul. Rob Zombie films. Discuss.
I haven't seen any.
Good.
Well, you're back on board. You're always welcome back.
I watched it again recently.
The new one?
The new Halloween.
I watched it in the cinema. I think I was just expecting a bit more. I think it was very predictable, is what I like movies that, especially scary. Like, obviously,
I suggest to watch it again because I think I'm thinking there's a lot more for Jamie Lee Curtis's character. I think she caused a lot more. I think she caused the bus crash.
The first time I watched it, I was so scared that it wasn't going to be good that I don't think I let a lot of it sink in. Watching it the second time after knowing that it wasn't bad, I still didn't take it in properly. I definitely need to revisit that one because nothing about it was upsettingly bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was just that I was expecting a bit more. Like, that could have been such a twist, like, to have her the one that caused the bus crash and everything like that, rather than just some random guy. Like, it was just, there's so many other ways they could have gone with it, and it was just this one guy that you're like, I want to feel what it's like to be a killer kind of thing. And I'm like,
It was made by Halloween fans, though, that you could tell. Like, I mean, finally, like, they had a good modern...
It was a big budget fan film, but handled with enough love that it didn't upset anything.
And there could be a second one. Like, I'll be okay if that's the last Halloween ever made. Like, I'm happy with that now.
Well, the whole point is that you can't kill his character.
Yeah.
Now,
and I'm like,
trying to get us a little bit off of this list that we're all currently getting put down on, a little bit of a background of your wrestling. What is the wrestling you grew up watching? Was it WWE? What was it? Did you grow up watching wrestling?
I did. I think originally I started when it was WWF, and then went into WWE. I watched a little bit of, say, WCW and everything, but that was about it. I watched it originally when, and say, matches that stick with me, WCW I watched. Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio at Halloween Havoc, I think it was.
98.
Yeah. During the mask match and everything like that, where he's trying to rip off his mask. That's one that's always stuck with me. Another one as well is so I'm, I love your hardcore matches and stuff like that. I, obviously don't get much opportunity to do it because I'm a girl.
You're getting back on the list.
Yeah,
You're going back on the
going
list.
back. But 2001 King of the Ring, Shane McMahon and Kurt Angle is another one. It's always those kind of ones. I feel new wrestling and, say, WWE wrestling's going very much so flashy, and I think it's just the way. Not a lot of people tell a really good story nowadays.
Yeah. Who is your favourite male wrestler of all time?
Male wrestler? It's a draw between two, and one I may get in trouble for, but Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit.
Right, no, that's fair enough.
Yeah, definitely those two. I like, obviously, the intensity of Benoit.
You are not getting on that of that list.
No, I'm really not.
So, Paul, to fill you in, Chris Benoit, you know who that is?
No.
That's a professional wrestler that had so many brain injuries and concussions that he ended up doing something terrible to his wife and son and then himself.
Oh, I did hear about it. I just didn't know his name. Okay.
So
Like, you know, you can.
I'm trying
hate
to
the-
make.
I know you're
I'm
trying to make it
trying
better.
to present you as a well-rounded individual. It's just not happening. Favorite female wrestler of all time?
Oh goodness.
Sable? Is it Sable? Is it Sable?
I'm not. Nah, not Sable.
Mine's Sable.
I can see
Is
why.
Because she's talented. It's Sable.
That one I'm not sure. If I
What
go
do you
for
think of the
more-
divas? Do you like? Obviously, it's something that, to a degree, would be a career path for you.
Yeah, to a degree. Obviously, I would definitely want to be more so your new age female wrestler. It's not all about tits and ass.
You want to beat up some guys.
Yeah, pretty much. But I don't know. I can't really say if I'm going back to
You don't
that
want to be
kind of
regarded as a
era.
diva?
No, pretty much. Going back to that kind of era, I would look at more, say, your Gail Kim's kind of thing.
Yep.
She was just a good all-rounder when she was a little bit younger. But yeah, if you're going to like your
Is
new
it
age...
Sable?
It's not Sable.
Okay.
Like at the time, when I was younger, I'd love like Lita and Trish and all
Yes.
that kind of stuff. Trish was phenomenal in the regard. She trained so hard.
They got
to
actual
get better.
matches as
They
well.
got good matches. Lita, I think, was a bit overrated. Like she was just a chick that could do flips.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess I'll start. I don't really have anyone that stands out to me massively at the moment. Definitely Rhea Ripley, obviously, old
Yeah.
mate. But I look for more so the women that move like men, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Say people like
Dave.
Ember Moon. Yeah, like Dave. Yeah, Ember Moons, Rhea Ripley, all that kind of stuff. Those that you can see aren't, are trained by men and, put in the hard yards and everything. But
Is that Rhea Ripley or Rhea?
Rhea.
Just change my search thing.
From Adelaide, so choose.
I know
your
something.
Choose your
I know
words,
something about
definitely.
wrestling this week.
Yes.
Chris Hemsworth is going to play Hulk Hogan, and it's going to ruin his career.
Yes.
Excuse me very much. I thought that didn't really happen. I thought I woke up and I had dreamt that, but
No,
no.
apparently it's a real
no, it's really
thing.
happening. Your favorite gimmick of any wrestler of all time?
That I don't know.
Really?
Yeah. There's a few, like they're all very diverse.
My favorite of all time is Vampiro, the vampire.
Yep.
Because he was a vampire that painted his face, because that's what vampires do, Paul. And they wrestle.
Yes.
Did you ever see the guy? Oh, who was the one that always sticks? That guy that came out with the fitness gimmick. Simon something.
I have no idea.
But even gimmick wise, going for something stupid. Santino Marella.
Yep.
How he did the whole Cobra thing. Like that's always something that, I love it. Like how do you get that over? You pull out a sock from your pants and just jab someone with it, and that's their finish.
And
Dave's finish.
that's my finish to the night. Time to go to bed.
By
If
the
you
way,
c-
that's just finishing me for the night.
You could wrestle one wrestler of any time period, alive or dead. Who would you have a match against?
Is this like in the big leagues?
Anyone on Earth.
Oh no, that's hard.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Is it Sable?
It's not Sable.
Okay.
If it was Sable, it would be like a bra and panties match. But
Can I come? Would be question number
ringside,
You
ringside,
just-
mate.
you
You can be
just
my
did.
manager.
2. You can't see me. There's a desk.
Feel it.
Yeah. So any wrestler, alive or dead, male or female, any gender, anything.
Any gender.
It could be Thunder Lips from Rocky. It could be anyone.
What?
This is a difficult
Hulk
one.
Hogan from Rocky.
What about you?
I'd just wrestle myself from another time period.
A colour swap,
A
much
colour
like Mortal
swap.
Kombat. A colour swap version.
No,
of you.
I'd probably, stick with, say, like your Eddie Guerrero or something. If I was looking one person, and it's going to cringe you out, one person that I've always wanted to wrestle would be Zach Sabbath, purely for the fact that he's one of the people that originally trained me. So I'd love to be able
But
to...
the crowd wouldn't get anything because it'd be a squash match because clearly you're
I
a
would beat him
million
up.
times stronger
Yeah,
than he
exactly.
is. So that's a terrible answer.
Yeah, definitely be Eddie Guerrero, say Rey Mysterio, something along those lines.
Yeah.
I can't say I think about it a lot.
Would it be jacked up Mysterio or Cruiserweight Mysterio?
Cruiserweight Mysterio.
Nice.
Yep, definitely Cruiserweight Mysterio.
Big guy, little guy.
You're saying words that don't mean anything.
Remember when you guys talked about X-Files and Star Trek? This is for you.
It's like you guys talking about the Oscars before. I'm like, I have no idea what's happening right now.
It's a good show. It's like we've all had moments of just not caring.
And who's your least favourite wrestler of all time? Local. Come on. What are you mouthing? Sorry, what? Any wrestler of all time.
Why'd you say all that stuff about Savannah?
Yeah.
Oh, because her and I have a rivalry.
Right.
You know,
it's on.
She's never beaten me before, so why would she now?
Oh, it's an We'll have an in-studio match coming up.
Least favourite wrestler would be Sable.
One of the mics just stopped working. How very dare you?
It was good because she just put it out for so long. That was amazing.
That's upsetting. We're going to go to a song now, and I'm going to put on my knocking people out pair. This is DVG. It is 100.5 WOWFM, Dave's Video Graveyard for the final time this evening. Wrapping up on Miki Fortune's 10 favourite films. It has been a worrying, eye-opening experience. So, obviously, people can check you out with Riot City Wrestling, the local promotion. Tell us who you are and where people can check you out.
I am and where people can find me. Alrighty, so, you know...
Where did you park your car?
Don't want to know that one. You've seen my movie selection. Do you really want to follow me to my car?
No. It's a van at the back.
Is it that van with all the windows painted black? It's,
I'm not going to tell you.
Quite upsetting.
Why would I spoil all these things? You know, just enjoy the ride.
What's that rag you're pouring a bottle into?
So I am obviously, you know, South Australian-based wrestler. I'm now at Riot City Wrestling. You know, I'm a part of the group called Gods and Monsters with Grim and Big Brody Marshall.
Weak. Oh, I sneezed.
Oh, mate, come on.
They're two people that I would destroy in the ring, but just saying.
Not me, though. Come on, mate.
We
know the realism.
Right in the ring.
Obviously, check me out at all Riot City Wrestling, you know, shows and everything. I'll always be there to say hi, or just, you know, check me out on social media platforms. I am looking at going into states this year, so you may be able to check me in other states and other promotions. But yeah, just keep an eye out and see what I'm doing. It's either wrestling, playing video games, or showing you pictures of my dogs, because I'm that person.
Ew.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. Good end.
No, I was actually just looking at a picture of you posted at the beach with your two dogs, and I agree. It's definitely worth checking out.
The one photo
Not
that's
creepy.
got like the most likes because I'm in a bikini.
I didn't notice. I just really enjoy dogs.
Yeah,
Is it Sable?
Stop it.
Is it Sable?
Not Sable.
Thank you so much for joining us. You're always welcome to return.
Thank you.
Paulie, you've possibly having a suspension for a week, depending on your next choice of words. You may be at a concert next week.
Yeah, I'm it depends if I've got money. If you hear me on the radio next week, I am broke.
Yeah.
And it will be an all Millencolin playlist next week, just to hammer it home. Thank you so much for joining us, Miki. It's been an absolute pleasure for you, I'm sure. And you're always welcome back.
Always. Thank you very much for having me.
No worries. This is 100.5 WOW FM.
Bye.